What is going on, all you tech addicts? Jay here with JayzTwoCents, and if you live on planet Earth like most of the people on planet Earth, chances are you'd love to get your hands on some water cooling, but you just can't afford it. You work your ass off, you get very little in return, and you just can't afford what it costs to get a custom water cooling loop. But you sure as hell would like to have that kind of performance. So what do? Well, you take a look at the Cooler Master Glacer 240L. Now let me just go ahead and start by saying that no, the Glacer 240L is not new to the market. In fact, some might even say, Jay, you're a little behind on this video. Well, I'm going to point out that even though it doesn't say it anywhere on this box, this is actually V2 or version 2 of the Glacer 240L, where they took some customer feedback of the original model and they've made some enhancements to it. So that's exactly what we're going to take a look at here today. Now the Glacer 240L sports a 2-year warranty. This is a fully sealed, ready to go all-in-one water cooling solution, but if you've never seen this cooler before, maybe you recognize the H220 from SwiftTech. Well, this is pretty much a rebranded SwiftTech H220 with some of Cooler Master's features and flair put in here to give it a little bit more oomph, if you will. Now, the box is pretty much straightforward. It's a box, you've got some cooling dimensions and stuff back here, whatever, we don't care about the box. At least I don't care about the box. If you do, here, you can have the box. Now, as far as cooling dimensions go, this is a 240 millimeter radiator, so that fits two 120 millimeter fans. Now, the packaging inside is very basic. In fact, you've got some egg crate type material right here on top, where you'll immediately see this. Now, right off the bat, you're going to notice that the tubing on this is quite a bit different than the all-in-one cooling units that you're used to seeing, which have the very hard, rigid ruffled up, I don't remember what they're called, the tubing that actually has all the in them. You got your user's guide right here, installation instructions, and the unit is already completely pre-assembled. In fact, the fans are even on it, which makes it quite a bit different than some of the other units out there where you have to install the fans. The only thing you have to do is select your appropriate mounting bracket for your platform, whether that be AMD or Intel, and pick your right socket set, install it in your system, mount the fans essentially, and you're good to go. Now, what makes this radiator different than the H100? I'm going to kind of keep mentioning the H100 because that would be the closest comparison in terms of price and performance, I think. Now the fans on here are pre-assembled, which I think is really cool. They're very high static pressure fans, which is what you want on a radiator like this. And they are 2,000 plus RPM fans. Now before you freak out over the RPMs and the noise level, these do have a very wide RPM range. I believe 600 RPM to 2000 RPM, all controlled through PWM headers. So if we hook these up to the CPU PWM fan header on your motherboard, you can control these through the load of your CPU, so they're nice and slow when they're not doing anything. As your computer and the temperature ramps up the CPU performance, it ramps up the fan speed as well. So it doesn't have any proprietary software controlling the actual unit. However, you can allow your CPU to control it through BIOS settings by plugging it into your motherboard, or you can plug it into your favorite fan controller if you prefer that as well. But they are already installed. They are installed in a push configuration, so obviously it's meant to go this way. Now the fittings, as you can see, they are rotatable, so you, regardless of where you're mounting this, whether it be maybe side mounted in a stacker or you've got it on the top or even the bottom of the case, you can make sure that you have the fittings pointing the right direction so you don't have any crazy kinks or bends in there. The tubing is 3/8 inch tubing. It is a gloss black. I kind of wish it was a dull, like a matte black, sort of like the EK tubing, or like on the H80i that comes from Corsair, because I think the matte black looks a lot better. It doesn't show all the dust and fingerprints on it nearly as much. That would be my only gripe when it comes to the tubing. Plenty long, so you can run it wherever you need. But this is the kind of the powerhouse of the unit right here, the pump. Now the pump features a fully copper block. It is powered by a single SATA power connector. And at this point you might be asking yourself, well, what exactly is different then? Because it's all seeming exactly the same. Well, the difference, guys, is right here in this plug. They have decided to make the cables actually unpluggable That way it's easier to install this without the cables in the way, and also too, you don't have an issue where these cables could potentially break off because of moving it around. You know, they're pretty thin cables, so you want to make sure that you don't damage them, so you can unplug them, get them out of the way when you're installing it, plug it in, and then install it into your motherboard power and your RPM wire right here that controls the pump speed, RPM and PWM wire right there. Now the cooling of this unit is superior to the other brands, and pretty much all the benchmarks on all the various reputable tech sites have proven this, because this is an all copper radiator. Copper is a much better conductor of heat than aluminum is, and all of the other all-in-one units tend to be aluminum. Now it does have a bit of a weight disadvantage to it for being copper, but you know what? The cooling capacity of it more than makes up for the added weight. I mean, most of the time you're not going to be moving your computer around too much anyway, so that shouldn't be a problem. Now, what makes this different than other cooling units? Well, all-in-one cooling units are not designed to be serviced, so that means they're completely sealed. In fact, if you were to drain the coolant out of an all-in-one unit, you typically will void the warranty. But in this case, you actually have a G quarter thread right here, a plug, that allows you to drain and refill this unit. Because this unit packs enough power in the pump that you could add multiple radiators and multiple blocks to this. So if you decided that you wanted a custom loop but you can't afford it up front, you buy a unit like this, and then it's designed to be expandable over time. So you could add a second radiator, you could add a graphics card to the loop if you wanted. So you start out on the cheap and you expand to grow to your needs. And it's got the same quality radiator as any standalone radiator that you would be using anyway if you built your own loop. But it's got the added benefit of having a very contained block and pump unit, which makes things very, very easy for installation. All right, so enough talking about this. Let's go ahead and throw it in my test bench. I'm actually getting ready to rebuild my test bench in one of my fractal cases, because I kind of like to change things up, and I just want to test some temperatures inside a regular case rather than an open air test bench. So we're going to put this inside my Fractal Arc XL. We're going to seal it up, and we're going to see how the temperatures are right here with the Glacer 240L, or Glacer. I keep calling it Glacier. I think Glacier because glaciers are cold, right? They're ice, so they're very cold. I don't really know what a glacier is. Maybe someone could tell me what a glacier is, but glacier sounds a hell of a lot colder to me than glacier. So we're going to call it the Glacer 240L. Cooler Master, you can send me your hate mail if you like. But anyway, there you go, guys. Let's go ahead and install this and see just how well this thing performs. All right, Cooler Master's Glacer 240L. How does it compare and how does it perform? Well, you know, I think you have to give credit where credit is due. It is by far the closest temperature that you could get to a full custom loop with the comparable radiator size. I could not build a 240 millimeter custom loop that could get any better performance than this kit is. I'm being just perfectly honest out here. I have all the parts to do it, but I know better because I've built enough systems to know what temperature should look like, and the Glacer 240L is right on par with a custom loop at just a fraction of the cost. I mean, this thing comes in at under $150 for complete customizability. I don't even know if that's really a word, guys. Somebody help me out here. I keep trying to say it's customizable. Yeah. Upgradable, expandable, all that stuff. And it doesn't break your bank. It's basically a custom loop that's pre-assembled for you. Now the core of the Glacer 240L, the design of it pretty much is implemented by SwiftTech with Cooler Master's key touches on there, as I mentioned earlier in the video. Now SwiftTech is one of the older companies that have been building standalone custom loop parts for years and years, so you know you're getting a nice heritage built in to this looper. Now I kind of want to call them a custom loop. I want to call this a custom loop because really, it gets the exact same performance as any 240 millimeter custom loop I could have built. I mean, that's the awesome part about it, but it comes in at a fraction of the cost. I couldn't have bought a block and a pump and a radiator and fans and tubing and fittings and fluid and all of that for anywhere near the cost of what this is. In fact, I did a video about building your own custom water cooling loop on the cheap months back, and that still came in at about $200, $50 more than this thing costs. So it really, you just cannot beat the price for performance. And if you're on a cooling budget and you want custom loop but you can't afford it now but you want to upgrade in the future, you've got to skip like the things from Corsair and NZXT and all of those companies. You've got to go with this 100% because of the fact that it gives you a place to go. Now let's go ahead and talk about temperatures and why you should go with this cooler. I took the 4770K, which is notoriously hot because of Intel's horrible integration of their heat spreader and the thermal compound, and it's just bad. which is why on the new KSKU refresh, they're going to be resoldering the heat spreader. Thank God for that as an overclocking enthusiast. Thank you. Thank you, Intel, for finally listening to us after 3 years of garbage. If you know anything about Intel and Haswell, you know that 1.325 volts is kind of that threshold where things are like, okay, you better have some really good cooling on hand or you're going to have one really badly melted chip in the long run. So 1.325 volts on there with a 2.05 VRIN or voltage input. Oh my God, I hate the Haswell settings. So you have voltage input and all that crap. Anyway, I know you guys are probably begging right now for a Haswell overclocking video. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's just too finicky. But anyway, so 2.05 volts into the CPU and a 1.325 V-core and all the V-cache and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into my settings. Bottom line was I was pushing some heat. Loaded up AIDA64, put it on the CPU extreme test, and this thing capped out in the 80 degrees Celsius range on an all-in-one cooler that costs around $150. So this cooler right here gets 2 thumbs up. Actually, it gets 3 or 4 thumbs up. If I had more thumbs, I'd be sticking them up because you just cannot get a better cooler for the money. I'm sorry. The aluminum all-in-one coolers from Corsair and the other brands, and even Cooler Master's own aluminum coolers, they're good. But you're not going to get anywhere near this thing. So if you guys are considering like an H100 or an H110, please look at other videos on this besides just mine. Get reviewers' inputs on this. Go to AnandTech, Overclock Forums, Hard OCP, Tom's Hardware, anywhere that reviews hardware, look at their reviews and you'll see that this thing just smashes everybody when it comes to the competition. So there you go, guys. Cooler Master's Glacer 240L version 2 with the removable plug on the pump. Bringing you probably the best cooling that you can get in a box. So guys, make sure you check out my other videos and stick around because you guys have been asking for some more mainstream type reviews rather than the extreme high end, which I've been doing a lot of lately. So we're going to be taking a look at Gigabyte's WindForce 270X graphics card right here. We originally were going to do a 280X. We decided to do a 270X to see how much performance you can pull out of a mid-range card like this that doesn't come anywhere near breaking your bank. So guys, I've been JayzTwoCents. Follow me on Twitter if you'd like to talk about this video or other videos that I've done, or you just want to talk and chat about tech. And as always, I'll see you in my next video.